started, I'd like to welcome everybody to this evening's town board meeting of Monday, March 24th, 2025. I would ask everybody if they can please rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first item, I'd ask our town clerk to please call roll.
Supervisor Copa,
Here.
Deputy Supervisor Lavin, Councilmember Berger,
Here.
Councilmember Zakala,
Here.
Councilmember Marinucci.
First item on the agenda is approval of minutes for Monday, March 10th, 2025. I'll motion to adopt those as they appeared.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have three public hearings this evening. The first is Resolution 290, the 2025 Fire Protection District Contract with Swarmville. I'm going to motion to open the public hearing at this time.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Sam?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Sam Alba. I am the interim town attorney for the town of Amherst. I'm going to put the fire district and fire protection district budget amounts up on the screen, and I'd ask that we leave those up there for the public hearing. I'm also going to leave my copy here if anyone wants to look closely at those numbers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there comments on the Swarmville Fire Protection District contract? Either from the board or the audience? Seeing none, I'm going to motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adopt the 2025 Fire Protection District contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is Resolution 291, which is the 2025 water line improvements and replacements. That's a bond resolution in the amount of $3,402,000. I will motion to open the public hearing at this time.
Second.
All in favor? And Jessica, you want to take it?
Good evening. I'm Jessica Boudreau with the Engineering Department, representing the town of Amherst for this public hearing for the 2025 Water System Improvement Bond. It's CIP Project E4 within Water District 15C. So we selected the projects for this year based on the following criteria: the current age, condition of the pipe, the 10-year repair history, the number of residents impacted by service interruptions, cost and frequency of the repairs, and coordination with other departments and agencies. We work closely with the Erie County Water Authority, who also provides us a priority list every year. So we have three priority projects this year. The first one is Cimarron Drive, Phase 1 and 2. 10-year history, there's been 20 plus breaks here. So high priority for sure. The project is between Hopkins and Wedgwood Drive. It'll be 1,200 linear feet of 8-inch water main. There'll be 4 hydrants, 4 new gate valves. And the first phase will go to Wedgwood Drive, the western Wedgwood Drive. And then phase 2 will pick up there and head to Cimarron Court. And then the second project is Pineview Drive. Again, 10-year history, 18 plus breaks. This is on Pineview between North French and Creekside Drive. It's about 3,000 linear feet of 12-inch water main. 4 new hydrants in this one as well, 2 gate valves. And both these first 2 are for 2025 construction. The next one is Transit Road. 10-year history, 10 plus breaks that have recently accelerated. This is on Transit, the west side of Transit from North French to Miles Road. Again, 4 hydrants, 2 gate valves, and ideally all the work will be outside the right-of-way. And these are the financial summaries for these projects. So Cimarron is going to be about $350,000, Pineview 1.06 million, Transit 1.6. Total construction, $3,035,000. Add in design and legal, we're at the $3,402,000 bond. That's a 20-year bond, so the tax impact would be $0.0157 per $1,000 assessed value. For an average home of 346,000, that's 544 per year. And that is it. Oh, no, not $5.44. Thank you.
All right. Questions from this board first? Sure.
I know the first project was listed as 8-inch main, and the second project was 12-inch main.
Mhm.
Is the only reason the second project is within industrial area, and the first doesn't?
We're replacing in kind. So it's just that the Cimarron currently has 8-inch residential low usage. Yeah, so it's a bigger size pipe on transit and in the industrial complex. Yeah.
Any further comments or questions from the board? Questions or comments from the audience?
Don Smith, North Long. I noticed that the bond is for a certain period of time, or we're covering a 20-year period. Is that what we're talking about? Have we projected any growth potential or usage potential over the period of time of 20 years? And are we sure the capacity will exceed the potential growth capacity that we may see in the areas, if any? Thank you.
Jessica, you want to talk? Well, go ahead. You can come forward and then I'll ask for.
Paul Francavilla, Cimarron Drive. I represent the Cimarron Drive family over there. Why are we stopping at Wedgewood Drive? You're talking about another maybe 1,000 feet to go all the way to South Wedge to finish the job. Okay.
I'm going to ask Jessica to talk about the phasing and why the decision to phase it.
Okay. The second thing is, when will the second phase be done?
Sure. So,
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, there's more breaks from south from.
yep. So let hang on to that. With that question in mind, let me have Jessica come back up to the podium for a minute, if she would. Jessica, can you talk a little bit about why the phasing, why phasing from Hopkins in versus the other set?
So the phasing is just based on the budget. We wanted to get to 3 spots this year, and we didn't think that we could fit this whole project in while addressing the other locations as well. Regarding the phasing, it just makes more sense to come out of Hopkins because of how the alignment is. I don't believe it's a loop system, so it would just make logical sense to fix the part that's connecting to the main line and not just the rear end of the loop. Construction sequence wise, we are designing everything at once, so we'll have a ready design to go next year as soon as we have the funding for that.
So could we bid the phase 2 and make a decision to go this year if it was advantageous?
Yeah, I believe we planned on doing it as an alternate.
Okay.
So that we would at least have a budget number, and if we had money for it, we could do it this year.
Okay. So, and that, what's that?
Do you want to explain that? Do you want to just explain what an alternate bid was so Mr. Francavilla can just understand?
Sure. So an alternate bid, so the whole project would get bid as if we were going to do it in one phase. And as long as it all tucks under the bond action, that's fine. Or if it's within striking distance, we could decide to do it all at once. So there is a possibility of that, but we have to see where the value is basically first, and timing, right? We have to see if a contractor can get to all of it in 1 year. So we are going to bid it as though it's 2 phases, or give the contractor the opportunity to bid on the entire thing to try to do it all 1 year.
Worst case scenario, if it is 2 phases, Will the second phase get done next year?
Yeah,
The reason
that-
why I say that is because in 2011, 2012, there was a water
Can
main
you come
break.
back up to the microphone?
In 2011, I think it was 2012, there was a water main break in front of one of our neighbor's house. Okay, did a lot of damage to her house. Contact the insurance company. The insurance company said that they weren't going to hold the town responsible because the town said they were going to replace that line in 2015. Here's 2025, that line's never been replaced. I know it's a different administration, but
Yeah, so the project is being scheduled, right? The entirety of the project is being scheduled. We're just bidding it two ways for time, and we'll see where it gets. But yes.
okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay. As
Thank you.
for the direction, obviously, without it being a loop system, you work from the larger main, which is Hopkins in. That's what I think Jessica said, right? Okay.
And for the record, there's been 35 now, because we had a water main break on Cimarron Court about a month ago. So there's been 35 water main breaks on a street that's a half mile long.
Understood. That's why we're doing it.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions?
There's one other question about the capacity.
Oh, sure.
So these are replaced in kind based on this preliminary. They do still all need to be designed. So if there is pressure issues, there's a chance it could change, but generally it's replace in kind.
That design, obviously, right, so we're going to go to one of our engineers, they're gonna design with they'll look at it now and then they'll look at future loading.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Any other comments or questions? I'm going to motion to close public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? What? Sorry, yes, I do have to motion to adopt the
Seeker.
findings while we're still in the public hearing. So I'll do that now.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That said, I'm going to motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now I'm going to motion to adopt the bond resolution in the amount of $3,402,000 for the projects and move the projects forward as described.
Second.
All in favor?
Voice, isn't it a voice
sorry.
vote?
Yes. Secret thing threw me off. I would ask our town clerk for a voice vote, please.
Supervisor Copa.
Yes.
Deputy Supervisor Lavin. Councilmember Berger.
Yes.
Councilmember Zakala. Councilmember Marinucci.
Yes.
Resolution 292 is the sanitary sewer projects, assessment, repair, relining, and rehab. Bond resolution in the amount of $2,250,000. A motion to open that public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Vaishali Reberholt, representing the Sewer Maintenance Division. And I'm here to give a bond hearing for the sanitary sewer improvement projects for the 2025 CAP program. We have S5, which is the interceptor rehabilitation and hydrogen sulfide study. S6 is the miscellaneous sanitary sewer repairs. And S7 is the sanitary sewer relining and manhole rehab project. For the outline for this presentation, I'll talk briefly about the location, the proposed plan, financial summary, and then the text summary. The interceptor rehab and hydrogen sulfide assessment will be done along here, let's see, along Dodge and North French interceptor, the Peanut Line interceptor, and then we have the West Side interceptor. The sanitary sewer miscellaneous repairs will be done throughout the town on an as-need basis. And then the relining and manhole rehab will be done in the southwest corner of the town. So under the interceptor rehabilitation and hydrogen sulfide study, we plan to assess the H2S levels within the sanitary sewer and develop a model. And based on the model output, our plan is to have a strategic rehabilitation plan for the West Side interceptor, the Dodge North French interceptor, and the Peanut Line interceptor. The report will also be utilized to apply for grant funding in the future. For the miscellaneous repair project, we generally use the funds to repair any collapsed pipe, broken pipes within the sanitary sewer system, and also where repair is needed for relining. Under the sanitary sewer relining and manhole rehabilitation project, we plan to reline approximately 20,000 linear feet of sewer pipe, ranging from 8-inch to 24 inches, and we will rehab about 50 manholes. The estimated cost for the interceptor rehabilitation and hydrogen sulfide study is about $248,750, and the legal and administrative fees of $1,250 for a total bond amount of $250,000. The miscellaneous sanitary sewer repair and sanitary sewer relining and manhole rehab project has an estimated cost of $1,990,000 with legal and administrative fees of $10,000 and total bond amount of $2 million. So for the bond request of $250,000, our bond term is 5 years with annual tax impacts of 0.0028 per $1,000 assessed value. The typical property tax impacts is 0.9738 per year per $346,000 assessed value. For the bond request of $2 million, our bond term is for 20 years. The annual tax impacts is 0.0074 per $1,000 assessed value, and the typical property tax impacts is 2.552 per year per $346,000 assessed value.
Questions from the board first on the sanitary sewer projects? Questions or comments from the audience, please?
Good evening, town board members. My name is Thomas Frank, and I'd like to comment on these two resolutions as far as the context of the resolution, as far as the context of the erosion in the town. I want to give you a copy of this. This is the well, we're talking right about the context as far as the of the projects in the groundwater in the town of Amherst, as far as the management, the groundwater, as far as the management and the maintenance of the infrastructure, the water lines, the sewer lines, the highway storm sewers, and as well as the transportation. And I merely want to comment on the as far as the Amherst Central Park Greenway that the New York State Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation are going to have their environmental summit meeting on Friday at the Buffalo State University. There's some 1,500 miles of greenway, the purpose of which is to, this where you're sitting, this whole area was an elevated floodplain. It was a tree forested land that as far as the impervious surfaces of the effect on the infrastructure, these are things that are being looked at on a nationwide basis, and that there's an opportunity here for a public engagement in the process to prevent the deterioration of the infrastructure, and that there's the demonstration project would be at the Glen Park Joint Board that interconnects, and this was part of the village community plan in 2015 to connect that park to the Amherst State Park. We're looking at a proposed development model. This has to do with the resolution from last week's meeting, number 263, number 264, regarding the cooperation agreement between the Village of Williamsville, CRS number 5336.
Tom,
Thank you, Tom.
I think you could revisit some of that during the public expression period.
Okay, I've got to give a presentation at the village board meeting. They never used to be at the same time on the same date. What you may want to do is have a joint meeting on a quarterly basis with the village and the town.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Don Smith, North Long. Just a sort of a simple question as to the long-term planning in terms of sanitary sewer operations going forward. As a percentage of the work that needs to be done in the town, does this represent 10% of the remaining work that we have already planned out, 20%, 30%? What's the longer-term plan for how much more sanitary sewer work needs to be done over the next coming years? Thank you very much.
So, Shelley, that's a little bit of a tough question, right? Because sewers continuously age, so I don't know how you want to.
The sewers do continuously age, so it's kind of like a moving target. But we do have a CMOM plan that is approved by the New York State DEC, in which the town has been divided into 18 mini systems, and we are required to target a mini system every year. So we definitely have an 18-year plan according to the CMOM, but like I said, it's a moving target, so things will surely come up because of the age.
Thank you. Are there any further comments? Seeing none, I'm going to motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Before I do that, I'm going to motion to adopt seeker findings associated with the bond resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Now I'll motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? And I will motion to adopt the bond resolution in the amount of $2,250,000.
Second.
And I would ask our town clerk for a voice vote, please.
Supervisor Copa,
Yes.
Deputy Supervisor Lavin,
Yes.
Councilmember Berger,
Yes.
Councilmember Zucala,
Yes.
and Councilmember Marinucci.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is public expression. I'm going to motion to open public expression at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I do have a list up here. I think there might be a second list. John Trabert, you're first.
John Traber, Mount Vernon Road. I just have a few questions regarding Royal Park. I understand that this is roughly a $10 million project, and the town of Amherst had to put up the money to get it completed. Apparently, there was some sort of agreement where Damon University would reimburse the town approximately $2.4 million after receiving a New York State higher education capital grant from the State Dormitory Authority. According to an amendment in this lease, there's a first amendment to the lease. It states this: the town hall shall submit periodic requests for payment to Damon for costs actually incurred by the town under contracts with consultants and/or contractors in connection with the design and/or construction of the athletic complex. Damon shall process the payment requests and pay the town within 30 days of submission. So just a question. Has the town submitted any requests for payment as of yet? Because it appears a substantial amount of money would have been spent with the progress that they've already made. Can this board give residents official confirmation that the HECAP grant was approved and that the town will be reimbursed? Because if this grant is not, or question, if this grant is not approved, will the residents be on the hook for another $2.4 million? Another couple questions regarding bond resolution 2024-996, which is the acquisition of the property located at 218 and 300 Maple Road. This is the old Buffalo Shooting Club. According to the town resolution, the town paid $5.72 million on a short-term loan for the entire property. I believe it was explained at a town board meeting that there was an understanding that UBMD would purchase a portion of the property back from the town, so the town would own the ball fields and UBMD would own the rest of the property. The UBMD transaction was to be completed in the first quarter of 2025. Was this completed? I realize it's not the end of the first quarter, but it's very close. So what is the status of the transaction between Amherst and UBMD? And if UB is under no contract to buy this land and they decide not to purchase the property, will the taxpayers be responsible for the entire cost of the land? It should be noted the previous owner of 300 Maple Road paid a substantial amount of property taxes in 2024. And if UB has not completed the purchase, this property is off the tax rolls and costing residents money. Thank you.
All right, Joseph Murtis.
Good evening, Supervisor Copa and the town board members. My name is Joseph Murtis, and I reside in Amherst. This evening, I would like to know the status of the town of Amherst RFP number 202503 for utility audit services. We understand that the bidding process ended on March 6, 2025. Can you tell us how many companies submitted bids for this audit? Who was awarded the bid? And what was the amount that was awarded? Thank you.
Can you repeat the which is the what? Oh, the utility audit? Yeah, okay. I'll answer all those at the end.
Yeah, that's in the process.
Anybody else? Matt Plunkett. Oh, sorry. Not looking at my list. Matt, is there another list?
Matt Plunkett, North Hill Drive. I just wanted to comment at the last meeting. It didn't come up, but I thought I'd raise it tonight. It was a month ago tonight that people showed up here for a town board meeting only to find out that the meeting wasn't going to take place because of a lack of a quorum. And I called some people I knew who worked for this town for 30 years or more, and nobody could ever remember a meeting being canceled for lack of a quorum. And it just seems to me that that's an incredible insult to the people of this town who elected you. And I think it shows contempt for your positions that you couldn't get 3 people to get out here for a meeting. That's unconscionable. And as I said before, I worked here for a few years, 20 years ago, and I racked my brain, and it ain't what it used to be, but it going back. The only meeting I could remember that was canceled in the 7+ years I was here was the meeting that was scheduled during the 2006 October storm. And that meeting should have been held, in my opinion. Nobody asked me, of course, but I think it should have been held, especially back then, given the situation, because I think it would have helped the residents to know that their town board was at work and functioning during that emergency. And we couldn't get 5 people here to have a meeting. I mean, I'm sure there's excuses. There's no excuses. There's explanations. But to me, that's outrageous. Of the 6 meetings that have been scheduled for this year, 2 have been canceled. One because of lack of a quorum, another because it snowed. Like there's a surprise that it snowed in January. That never happens in Buffalo. I just don't understand how that kind of thing can occur here. I really don't. I was quite frankly shocked about it, and I think the residents have a right to be disappointed about it.
Tom Frank is gone, so Tom Weisbeck.
Evening. How are you, everyone? Hope everyone's well, most important. I've been working on a little project out in the city of North Tonawanda.
Name and
Oh, I'm sorry.
address for
Tom
the
Weisbeck,
record.
48 Drawbridge. Yeah, I know. I've been missing. Sorry, guys. I missed all the fun, right? But what I'm here about is about in the city of North Tonawanda, they adopted a local law about energy restriction and nuclear free zone in the city of North Tonawanda. They have a Bitcoin plant there on Erie Avenue, and I've been fighting with a bunch of residents to stop the plant. It's a huge polluter, vicious noise. If you lived in a, but that's a different point. What I'm here is there a possibility where we could pass a local law banning any type of Bitcoin plant in town of Amherst? I mean, at one point they were about to close that plant because Bitcoin was worth a little more than $32,000. Now, at one point it was over $100,000. Today it's $88,000. So we have a lot of transmission lines throughout town of Amherst. You got gas lines over there. Their plant is fed by a gas line, produces energy and kicks it out to the transmission lines. So I'm just looking for I know I'm just bringing it up. I'd love to come in and talk to you guys, and figure this out. This is what they did in a city of Tonawanda, a city of North Tonawanda. People came in, had a committee, set it up, and develop a local law to ban a nuclear plant they were planning in 2031. They were thinking about bringing it's called a small modular reactor. So that's what I'm trying to ban if they ever have a chance. Put a Bitcoin plant on all the one of the transmission lines throughout town of Amherst. I know you're probably saying, it'll never happen, but it could. If the Bitcoins became more expensive, when it was $106,000 for each coin, they were ready. But they're trying to put a nuclear plant on Erie Avenue, which is just right across the border of town of Amherst, right at Tonawanda Creek. I drove it. It's only 11.2 miles from Town Hall. If there was ever an accident in that plant. So I'd like to come in, talk to you guys about it, please.
All right, thanks. Anybody else?
Kathy Ecolina, Maple Road. You approved the minutes, but they are not correct. The second speaker for that social justice at the last meeting is not listed under the first public expression. So evidently you just don't read what you're saying yes to. And also that wasn't town business, so those people should have been stopped like people here who do talk about things are stopped. The last is the job postings that go up. They're saying residency may not be required. Employees need to live in this town, pay taxes, get reassessments and everything like we do. And the only thing I could think of is when you do those job postings, nobody wants to work in Amherst. Is it the atmosphere?
Tom Smith, North Long. I just want to reiterate my concern for the funding that's going over at Royal Park. It's a HECAP grant 24273 under round 4 for 2020-21, I think, or it's 2019-20. I don't know either. I know it's a year limited into how long they'll keep a HECAP grant open and approved. Approved doesn't necessarily mean dispersed. So what that really means is they do an analysis of your application, and they say your application meets a certain criteria. When they approve the relationship, that means they enter into a contract to disperse it between the municipalities and going on, and that's a different story. And as far as I understand it at this point, I've seen nothing that says it's been dispersed. My first question, has that contract been dispersed? Has the contract been entered into for the 2.378 or whatever $1 million that they wanted to go there? Has that dispersal been done? I know that there's a webcast coming up on HECAP coming up in the next month or so. So we'll be able to probably watch that, okay? I know that they publish a response in what they call their book. Of last time it was June 23rd, 2024. So we're getting close, maybe May or June, we'll find it, whether it's been dispersed or not, because they're going to have to publish that somehow. So we're going to find out one way or the other. It'd be nice if you could tell us before that's published, what's the current status of that particular project, whether the dispersal was made, or whether the award was withdrawn, which is a very common function. Inside those actions, very often people withdraw their applications when they do not meet some of the criteria when they come to the negotiation for the dispersal agreement. I appreciate that you're listening to me right tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to close public expression. Second. All in favor? I'll answer all those questions at the end. The first item we have on the rest of the agenda is tonight's consent agenda. So I'm going to ask our town clerk to please read the consent agenda.
Supervisor Copa, 1, 2. Councilmember Zuccalla, 1, 2. Councilmember Marinucci, 1. Town Attorney, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Town Clerk, 1, 2. Building Maintenance, 1. Controller, 1. Contract Compliance, 1, 2. Economic Development, 1. Engineering, 1. Highway, 1, 2, 3. Human Resources, 1 through 8. Planning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Police, 1. Senior Services, 1. Sewer plant 16, 1, 2, 5, youth and rec 1, 2, 3, 4. Under communications, 1 was referred to attorney. Thank you.
Okay. A motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is resolution 295, resolution for town, the acceptance of the agriculture and open space inventory prioritization study.
Second.
Okay,
With a caveat.
well, so there's a second. On the question, there's an amendment that we discussed in
The work session.
for the resolution itself. So, Councilwoman, do you want to introduce that?
Yeah. That, we add a paragraph or a couple sentences clarifying a few of the terms, in particular acquisition, and then we review and correct the parcels for Muir Woods on the map.
Right. So there's a motion to amend to correct the SBLs at Muir Woods and include clarification paragraph to acquisitions. Is there a second on the amendment?
Second.
All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Okay, then I would motion to adopt the original resolution as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item on the agenda, we have 2 items that had Scrivener's errors, as I'm understanding it.
Yes.
Only one has a Scrivener's error. So resolution 332 is a waste activated sludge flow meter replacements temp press CRS 5392. That's not the one with the Scrivener's error? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to motion that resolution as it appeared.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. The next resolution, also held from work session, was resolution 333, which is laboratory heating mantles, Fisher Scientific Incorporated, CRS 5388. That I understand does have a Scrivener's error.
Correct. Tempress in that last sentence should be changed to Mantles Fisher Scientific Company. It's just a name change substitution.
Okay. With that said, with that Scrivener's error, motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the next round of public expression. I'm going to motion to open that at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Again, I'll go through all the questions that I have after. I can do that after public expression.
Chris Rangoski, Mill Street. My question is to the supervisor and this whole board, how did we let Ingram Micro relocate to the city of Buffalo? Why were we not on top of this? Why wasn't the IDA involved? There seems to be a common theme occurring in this town that the office parks are going empty, which then they're reassessed downward, which means the property tax burden and school tax burden falls heavier on residential properties. I'd just like an answer how the town was not involved in trying to do whatever it could to keep Ingram Micro located in the town of Amherst. My next question is regarding, I don't see any resolution on lowering the golf course fees. I showed everyone last week, or last town board meeting, the amount that the town has been profiting off of the golf operations, $300,000 last year. Now, the majority of people who play there are young and are seniors. And as I've been out on the campaign trail talking to a lot of seniors, the common theme that I'm hearing from all of them is, we're not living the golden dream. We're trying to survive. And I repeat, trying to survive. Between the town taxes and the school taxes, the reassessment, these people never, and inflation, they never planned for this. And, you know, Mr. Supervisor, you could scribble all you want up there, but these people are hurting. And, you know, and I won't even say some of the choice words they have in reference to you, but this is a serious problem. And getting back to the original point, you know, young people and seniors are playing at the Audubon Golf Course facility. And yeah, I'd like to know, Deputy Supervisor Lavin, you're running for supervisor. What are you going to do? Are you going to sit here? You're proclaiming that you're going to be working with youth and seniors, and yet you're raising their fees and it's proven that we had excessively high revenue windfall from there. Why don't you have a resolution at the next town board meeting rolling back the fees to what they were 2 years ago? Thank you.
John Traver, Mount Vernon Road. The woman who, somebody I believe mentioned something about residency. And I have in my hand a form labeled AP 17 from the Director of Human Resources for the town of Amherst. This form was presented to a new employee as a condition of employment, and it states the following. It shall be and shall remain the duty of each employee of the town of Amherst during the period of his or her employment with the town to maintain his or her residence within the corporate limits of the town of Amherst as a condition of employment. pursuant to Chapter 45 of the Code of the Town of Amherst. There's another little bit here that I'm not going to bother reading, but the bottom is, I understand that failure to comply with this provision shall constitute a forfeiture of employment for failure to maintain a condition of my employment. I have read and agreed to the provisions set forth in the above memorandum and have received a copy of the same. If this is given out to some new employees, I'm just wondering why it isn't uniformly used throughout the town. This form must have been in place for some time as it was revised in April of 2009. And if town employees are required to sign this form as a condition of employment, why do numerous employees live outside the town? Have all the exempt employees that were hired under this administration been forced to comply with this provision? Will you terminate all non-residents for non-compliance of this part of the code of the town of Amherst? If you could just kind of explain who this applies to, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, there's, I'm gonna motion to move off of our closed public expression.
Second.
Please, Matt, go ahead.
Matt Plunkett, North Hill Drive. Mr. Drangoski mentioned resolutions that weren't on the agenda tonight. Excuse me, at the last meeting, I suggested to Deputy Supervisor Lavin that in keeping with his statements to the Buffalo News about how he favors opening the Amherst Central Park up by tearing down the fence and making it a passive park, he introduced a resolution to do exactly that. I don't see that on the agenda tonight either, and I don't expect to, because that's electioneering, and that's about all it amounts to. Otherwise, the resolution would be in. But I think it's important to recognize, as I pointed out at the last meeting, the sign over there says it's private property. How can we even be sure that that's really a town park when it says private property, no trespassing? The only thing we can say about that place for sure right now is it's not a central park, it's a car park, and that's all it is.
Get a motion to close public expression.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we do have one item that we need to move off of agenda this evening. I'm gonna motion to exit the agenda for purposes of entertaining one suspension item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The IT department is respectfully requests the approval to spend $1,000 in the trust and agency funds for the purchase of additional audiovisual equipment for these council chambers. And I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A motion move back to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And as promised, I'll provide some answers to some of the questions asked here this evening. The first had to do with Damon College and Royal Park. So no, the town is yet to submit formal requests to Damon, and the grant has yet to be distributed because we are still actively completing construction. Upon construction completion, we will inform Damon of their costs. Damon will then turn around and submit the request for HECAP distribution. We don't have any reason to believe that has any issues. We have yet to actually receive the funds, though. The town is working with Damon. Damon does carry all the maintenance costs for the facility. We are working with Damon to figure out exactly how that maintenance cost will be provided, whether it'll just be through rental fees or fee structure, or whether it'll be in lump sum, or whether they'll actually provide the maintenance staff for the facility. The town has yet to undertake naming, the sale of naming rights for the field and the tennis courts, which we intend to do as well, which should create some offset for the town's indebtedness. on the bond action. So we do have a number of other users already signing up for space on the field, and that includes Amherst Central School District as they undertake their project. So there's other users and other fees that will be coming into the facility through rental agreements. The UBMD question, the status, we're not at the end of the first quarter, so I'm not completely at liberty to discuss it. I will say that UBMD has been working with the Development Corporation on the purchase agreement for that facility. Should something go wrong, then the facility, we do have an RFP that would be released immediately upon that that scenario for use. As far as the question about the utility audit, there was a gentleman here from one of the companies at the time that the RFP was due. Zach from our finance department or our purchasing department was there, was at the box pulling that copy out. He had then told me that we had received 2 other proposals, so that is now going to be reviewed, and the award will be pending the finance department and comptroller's office, and then ultimately town board award once they've completed reviewing the proposals. As far as energy restrictions or nuclear free zone, I did also see that, and I am aware that certain data okay. I am also familiar with the fact that data centers and Bitcoin operators and Bitcoin mining facilities are using small nuclear. That includes Googles and Yahoos of the world. While the town of Amherst property value has kind of safeguarded us to this point with respect to those, I do think that there's I'm only speaking personally, not for the board, because we have yet to discuss this as a board. I do think that there is some logic to setting up those kind of bans. Certainly Bitcoin, along with noise and intensity, has some other issues and challenges. Data centers can be different depending on what kind of data center it is, but the nuclear scenario kind of is a little bit of a scary specter, and something that we should be taking seriously. As far as Ingram Micro goes, Ingram Micro did have an open IDA project. In fact, they had a sales tax abatement for their most recent expansion. Ingram has been going through some downsizing, though, and has been failing to hit the IDA's goals. In fact, they've been receding, and we're looking for an actual smaller envelope. The owner of the building downtown is the same as the owner of the building out here. My understanding is that Ingram Micro favored an urbanized area, but they also weren't going to hit any of our IDA policies or goals. So that became an issue for the IDA, and under New York state law, we have to consider clawback provisions. As far as Ingram Micro goes, the property owner who I did speak to, which is Orion Development, felt that the Amherst building, as opposed to the downtown building, was positioned more favorably for a technical facility like an aerospace facility or healthcare, which they both have in their portfolio. So we will be continuing to meet with Orion. We don't anticipate that building will sit empty long. The developer has shown an interest in working with the town immediately on some of that. We've already had some conversations with healthcare groups who are looking to grow along the medical spine. So we will see where that goes. We have a glut of office space in Western New York. That's true. The Seneca One Tower coming online pulled tremendous amount of M&T facilities out of Amherst years ago, and it pulled Highmark out of their building And now Highmark's building is available for infill, and that includes Ingram Micro. So right now, we're seeing a little bit of a rearranging of deck chairs. As far as residency goes, the town does have residency policies. Residency policy by town law states that we have, first priority is to make sure that we have Amherst resident employees unless such time that at such time that those, that searching Amherst has been exhausted. That also does not apply if somebody is dealing with pre-civil service testing probation, right? So basically, employees who have been hired who are still waiting their civil service test, we've often granted residency waiver during that time because they could hypothetically not test into the civil service position. So that's been a scenario that predates me. Everything else is contractually obligated. And right now we are dealing with contracts that, frankly, we're not sure that will ultimately carry. There are provisions in the police contract where police do get to move out of Amherst at a certain point in their tenure. Again, a lot of this stuff predates this board, but it is complicated. It is not a one-size-fits-all matter. I'm going to leave it at that. So I'd like to thank everybody this evening, and I will see everybody soon enough.
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn.
Second.